Shri Gurubhyo Namaha children, I welcome you all to our online English class. In today's class, we are going to be seeing the lesson, The Necklace, written by Guy Maupassant, and this lesson is from your Footprints Without Feet book, children. Before going into the lesson, let us know more about the author. Guy Maupassant, he was a French author. He is famous for writing short stories and he has written over 300 stories and he died in a sanatorium. Let us move into the lesson, children. So this lesson is about a young girl. She is worried about her fate because she is born into a poor family. Okay, she is now got an invitation to a rich ball. So how she is going there, what is happening at the ball is all the part of the story. Let us begin, children. She was one of those pretty young ladies born as if through an error of destiny into a family of clerks. So we are introduced to an young girl. She is very beautiful, but like an error of fate, by the mistake of destiny, she is now born into a poor family, into a family of clerks. She had no dowry, no hopes, no means of becoming known, loved and married by a man either rich or distinguished. So since she was born into a family of clerks, we can understand it's a very middle class or a very normal family. Okay, she had no means of giving dowry or no means of marrying a rich person or somebody who is very beautiful. Why? Because she was a bit poor. She allowed herself to marry a petty clerk in the office of the Board of Education. She was simple, but she was unhappy. She suffered incessantly, feeling herself born for all delicacies and luxuries. So she was unhappy. She married a clerk. Because she was poor, she married a person of equal social status like her. So again, she also married a man who was a bit poor. She was unhappy. She worried and she suffered incessantly. Incessantly means always. Okay, she was always worried that she has now born into a very poor family. She always imagined herself to be born for all luxuries and delicacies. She suffered from poverty of her apartment, the shabby walls and the worn chairs. All these things tortured and angered her. When she seated herself for dinner opposite her husband, who uncovered the tureen with a delighted air, saying, "Oh, the good pot pie! I know nothing better than that." She would think of elegant dinners or shining silver. She thought of the exquisite food served in marvelous dishes. She had neither frocks nor jewels, nothing, and she loved only those things. So she suffered incessantly. Why? Because she was not happy with the financial status of her family. She always wanted to live an extravagant life. She wanted to experience that luxuries and delicacies. She always imagined about silver utensils, delicious dishes served in silver utensils and all these things. While her husband, okay, he was on total contrast with this girl. He was happy with even a small pie which is served in a tureen. Tureen is a dish. It is a dish which is used to serve soup. And pot pie is also a dish with dumplings, or vegetable dumplings or any dumplings. It's a pot pie. You can see the picture here. So she suffered, okay, the worn out chairs, the shabby apartment, the walls, the old things of her house angered her. She didn't like any of it. She wanted to live a very luxurious life. She had a rich friend, a schoolmate at the convent, who she did not like to visit. She suffered so much when she returned. She wept for whole days from the despair and disappointment. One evening, her husband returned, elated, bearing in his hand a large envelope. Okay, she has a school friend who is very rich. Okay, she always cried because she is rich and that girl is rich and she was not rich enough. And one day what happens, the husband is coming back home with an envelope and he is elated. Elated means what? He is very happy. elated means he was very happy, and he was carrying a very large envelope. Here he said, "Here's something for you." She quickly drew out a printed card on which were inscribed these words. So she picked it from him and she opened the envelope, and this was written. Inscribed means what? It was written. The Minister of Public Instruction and Madam George Rampanu asked the honour of Mr. and Madam Loisel's company Monday evening, January 18 at the Minister's residence. So there is some function which is going to take place at the Minister's residence on January 18, and both Mr. and Madam Loisel are invited for the party. Instead of being delighted as her husband had hoped, she threw the invitation spitefully upon the table, murmuring, "What do you suppose I want with that?" So the husband was happy. He was thinking that the wife would be happy at the invitation, because it is something prestigious to be invited from the minister's house. But on the contrary, this lady was not happy. She threw the envelope down and she is asking the husband, "What do I want to do with it?" Okay. "But my dear, I thought it would make you happy. You never go out, and this is an occasion, and a fine one. Everybody wishes one, and it is very select. Not many are given to employees." So the husband is explaining, okay, why aren't you delighted? Why aren't you happy? This is one such occasion. Not everybody is invited for this party. We are invited, and we should be privileged that we are invited, and we should be happy to be attending one such function. Why are you sad? "You will see the whole official world there." She looked at him with an irritated eye and declared impatiently, "What do you suppose I have to wear to such a thing as that?" He had not thought of that. He stammered, "Why, the dress you wear when we go to the theatre. It seems very pretty to me." He was silent, stupefied, in dismay at the sight of his wife weeping. He stammered, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" So when asked for a reason, this girl is replying, okay, this is an occasion, a very good occasion, I accept, but what do I have to wear? I don't have anything which is very elegant and extravagant to wear for such an occasion. And immediately he was lost into thoughts. Oh, if that is the problem, okay, he was not expecting this would be the answer from the girl. By a violent effort, she had controlled her vexation and responded in a calm voice, wiping her moist cheeks, "Nothing, only I have no dress, and consequently I cannot go to this fair." So she is controlling with all efforts her vexation. She has lost, okay, all her hope that she is never going to become rich. So she has now understood that nothing is going to change. So she is controlling all her emotions, and she is telling her husband, "I am happy about the invitation, but I cannot go to the party because I have nothing extravagant to wear for such an occasion. Give your card to some colleague whose wife is better fitted out than I." So she is also telling, why don't you give this invitation to some other employee, your colleague. Colleague is some person who works with us. Okay, why don't you give this card to your colleague so that they will be attending it? He was grieved but answered, "Let us see, Matilda, how much would a suitable costume cost? Something that would serve for other occasions, something very simple." So this man, he became sad. He grieved means what? He was sad. Okay, he never expected that this would be the reaction from the woman, that she would be worried that she doesn't have a dress. So he is, to comfort her in the situation, he is telling, okay, tell me, Matilda, the girl's name is Matilda, he is asking how much would it cost to buy a good dress? She reflected for some seconds, thinking of a sum that she could ask without bringing with it an immediate refusal and a frightened exclamation from the economical clerk. So, she was thinking about some probable amount which would not be an argument of fight once again. So, she wanted to ask for a very decent amount. Finally, she said in a hesitating voice, I cannot tell exactly, but it seems to me that 400 francs ought to cover it. So, she is telling a rough estimation. I don't know exactly, but I think 400 francs would be enough. He turned a little pale, for he had saved just this sum to buy a gun, that he might be able to join some hunting parties the next summer with some friends who went to shoot larks on Sunday. So, he became sad. Why? Because he had saved the exact amount. He had already saved 400 francs because he was willing to buy a gun so that he could accompany his friends on shooting parties, hunting parties. Nevertheless, he answered, very well, I will give you 400 francs, but try to have a pretty dress. The day of the ball approached and Madame Loisel seemed sad, disturbed and anxious. So, she is now buying a good dress. On the day of the ball or on the day of the party, she was once again sad, disappointed. Nevertheless, her dress was nearly ready. Her husband said to her one evening, what is the matter with you? You have acted strangely for 2 or 3 days. And she responded, I am vexed not to have a jewel, nothing to adorn myself with. I shall have such a poverty-stricken look. I would prefer not to go to this party. He replied, you can wear some natural flowers. In this season, they look very chic. So, the lady is now worried and the husband is asking, you asked me for a dress, you told me there was no dress for you and I bought you a dress. What is the problem? Why are you still worried? And this girl is telling she doesn't have any jewel. Okay, she has a beautiful dress and now she doesn't have any jewel to wear on top of the dress. And that is again a problem for a woman, right? And the man is telling, why don't you adorn yourself? Why don't you decorate yourself? Why don't you wear some flowers? Because flowers will look very elegant. She was not convinced. No, she replied, there is nothing more humiliating than to have a shabby air in the midst of rich women. Then her husband cried out, how stupid we are. Go and find your friend Madame Forestier and ask her to lend you her jewels. So, he is telling, the man is telling, okay, if that is the case, if jewels are the problem, why don't you go to your friend? Okay, you have a rich friend. Madame Forestier is there. Why don't you go to her and ask her to lend you some jewels for the occasion? And this woman, okay, this lady Matilda, she is proving that she cannot go empty necked amidst rich women. So, a jewel was very important. So, he is coming out with this plan. She uttered a cry of joy. It is true, she said. I had not thought of that. The next day, she took herself to her friend's house and related her story of distress. Madame Forestier went to her closet, took out a large jewel case, bought it, opened it and said, choose, my dear. She saw at first some bracelets, then a collar of pearls, then a Venetian cross of gold and jewels of admirable workmanship. She tried the jewels before the glass, hesitated, but could neither decide to take them or leave them. Then she asked, have you nothing more? Why, yes, look for yourself. I do not know what will please you. So, she is going to the friend house and she is telling all her story. The friend is telling, yeah, I am ready to help you with the jewels. So, she is going into her closet, bringing all the jewels and she is displaying it. And she is also telling you can choose whatever you want. Suddenly, she discovered in a black satin box a superb necklace of diamonds. Her hands trembled as she took it out. She placed it about her throat against her dress and was ecstatic. Then she asked in a hesitating voice full of anxiety, could you lend me this? Only this? Why, yes, Certainly. She fell upon the neck of her friend, embraced her with passion, then went away with her treasure. So she was searching, she was not sure which jewel to pick because nothing was satisfying her. And suddenly she discovers a satin box which had a diamond necklace. She was so attracted to her, but still she had some hesitation whether the friend would take the risk of giving her the diamond necklace. She is asking, okay, will you lend me only this? Madame Forestier was so generous that she agreed to lend it to Matilda. And Matilda became very happy. She hugged her friend and she thanked her and she returned back with the necklace. The day of the ball arrived. Madame Loisel was a great success. She was the prettiest of all, elegant, gracious, smiling and full of joy. All men noticed her, asked her name and wanted to be presented. She danced with enthusiasm, intoxicated with pleasure, thinking of nothing but all this admiration, this victory so complete and sweet to her heart. So now the dress is ready and she has a very beautiful necklace, and the day of the ball was very successful for her because everybody noticed her, everybody came to know her name, all the men were attracted to her. This was what she was expecting. Okay, she was willing that everybody should come and look at her, she should be very presentable. So that day was complete success and she was so happy on the day of the ball. So I hope we'll continue the remaining part of the lesson in the next session, children. And before closing, please do subscribe our YouTube channel for more updates. See you, children.